We got the TikTok people in the building. They're notifying all the people on TikTok that he's back at 7 o'clock. And we back in the building. Shout out to everybody who got a loved one locked up. And there we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, is your host, Andre Norman. This is, for the time being, the Prison Masterclass, where we teach you how to get out and stay out.
Mhm. Now you said, "Hey everybody, I'm
Can't hear
Neva."
you. You're
I'm
muted.
oh, you can't. I'm muted.
Oh, you are
Uh oh.
muted. I can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, she playing with the tech, y'all. She's muted. Tell her. You might have to sign out and sign in.
I'll
She
be
has
back.
no way to come back. But for all y'all who have loved ones locked up, the reason we're here is to share some information, share some light on how to help you people come home and help you people level up. Then when they come home, show them how to stay home. For those who have family and loved ones who are out here trying to be supportive, if you got questions on how you can support your loved ones, we are 1000% with you, and we want to see you succeed as well. And that's why we're here.
Mhm.
And that's the only reason we come on here. I'm not bored or lonely. I'm saying I want to see you win. I want to see our people win. And the only way that happens is if we share the information. So we are officially sharing the information. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing tucked away. We just want to see you win.
Mhm. Yesterday, we
So
had some amazing
we
questions.
are here. Holla at your boy. How we doing, Neva?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Still can't hear you.
What in the world?
It was my computer.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Well, we have some amazing questions today. Yesterday, we had some amazing question coming straight from the chat. Let's do the same thing again. Of course, we're going to continue to drop gems, but we also want to hear from you. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Dre, drop them in the chat. Instagram is going, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. Go ahead and do it. We want to hear from you. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. Go to YouTube, go to Facebook, and subscribe. This is where you want to be. So, hey, let's go ahead and kick this thing off.
Okay.
All right.
So what are the
So,
questions?
yesterday, if you all weren't here on live yesterday, it was absolutely fantastic. But we ended the live talking about relationships. So we're going to start this live talking about relationships, right? So the first question is, how can partners in a romantic relationship maintain a strong emotional connection when one of them is incarcerated?
The connection to your loved one has nothing to do with distance, space, time. That's just something that you have for you. You know what I'm saying, if you love this person, you love this person. I haven't seen my mom in a few months. You know what I'm saying, but I still love her the same if I saw her yesterday. I'm saying the love for my mother doesn't fade. I'm saying the love for my grandmother doesn't fade. I'm saying the love for people I have love for doesn't fade. It's not about, I have cousins, I have great friends that I don't see but once or twice a year. And when I see them, it doesn't fade. I don't feel like, oh my God, I like to see them more often. Sometimes it's not feasible, but the love doesn't fade. So you have to ask yourself, do you really love this person? I'm saying once you come to grips that you really love this person, now wanting to see them more is natural, but the love for them shouldn't change. So if you're having questions about, oh, do I love this person? That's something different. But if you love the person, they're with you. It's like this times me and my sisters and brothers fight. I don't love them too much less. And it's times we get along. I don't love them too much more. It's always the same.
Mhm.
So proximity is a thing. And we'll, as prisoners, we would get separated, and we get, my homie gets shipped over there, I get shipped over there. The love don't change. That's my homie. I'm holding him down, and vice versa. If we happen to be in the same space, cool. If not, not. I remember my man Dominic. We went upstate. We got separated December 5th, 1987. I did not see him again until he got out of prison physically. We were always in a different prison the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And that was my guy. You know what I'm saying? That's just my dude. I spent 6 months in the same prison as Dominic. The other 13 and a half years, different prisons. But my loyalty, my love, my triumph, everything, what he did for me in 6 months and showed me how to live carried 13 and a half years and another 12 and a half years after I got out. And that was, like I said, that's just my dude. And I just appreciated and loved him for what he did for me. And that never changed. So if you love your person from the core and you understand what they did for you to bring you to that point, then you're good. Because that won't, whatever they did that prompted you to love them has not changed.
Yeah. So did you at the time or during your time like have someone that you were like sweet on or like I'm not gonna say I'm not boyfriend, but girlfriend. I'm just saying for the people out
Nothing
there.
outside of Atlanta.
For the people out there, for the sisters that are watching, the girls are watching, did you have like a significant other that you were just like macking on? Like how did that relationship continue to grow,
The
while you
relationship, I had a girlfriend before I went to prison. And funny thing is, not funny. We're still friends to this day. She came on the other night while we were on here and checked in. But when I went away, they told me when I first got to the gate, "Oh, your girl's gonna leave you." I'm like, "Nah, never that." And she left not because I was in prison. She left because I didn't adjust to being in prison. I try to keep the relationship as if I was on the street. You can't have a street relationship while you're in prison because you can't do the same things. So we stayed friends. We stayed connected the entire 14 years I was away. We've been friends. We've been connected the entire 23 years I've been home. So we're not dating per se, but always in my life. Never forget her. She'll never forget me. We're friends for life. We're in this for to the end. But the thing that split us up was there needed to be an adjustment of how I spoke to her, what I expected of her, what kind of pressure, all the stuff.
Mhm.
And I was more selfish than I should have been, and less understanding more often than I should have been. And so those are the things that when we did split and college wedges, was mainly because I was still thinking like we were the same people who was in the street, and we weren't. So if you have somebody who's inside, if you met them while they're already inside, cool. But as long as they've adjusted to understand that you're physically inside, I am physically outside, and there's gonna be some things with that, and that's just how life goes. You know what I'm saying, I'll tell you this: my mother got married, and her husband went to prison after she had 2 kids. While he was in prison, she had 4 more kids. I'm one of the 4. He comes home from prison. She splits up with my dad at some point, and he gets back with her. He went away. He had 2 kids. He came back. There was 6, and he looked out for me. That's real time. You know what I'm saying, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened, but me and him, I have fond memories of him doing great things for me. You know what I'm saying, and in that, he could have said, "Lady, you made some decisions while I was gone that didn't include me. I'm gonna keep it pushing." But he loved her and she loved him, and it was enough to him to take on 4 kids that weren't his. So it works. It can work. Now, my father was there the whole time, and he just chose not to bother. So I got more input from a stepdad who walked away with his wife with 2 kids and come back with his wife had 6, and he put more energy into me than the dude who put me on the planet.
Yeah.
So it's a decision of the person. Some people are, "Oh, you're weak. Oh, your girl did this, you did that." And I'm saying, no, his wife kept living. She didn't go to prison. She didn't rob a bank. She didn't do any of that stuff. She kept living, and her living continued on with 4 more kids, of which I'm happy. At least 3 of us showed up. She got 3. Some kind of my little brother's here too. But you want it to be a perfect world while you live in the worst part of the country, in the worst part of the situation that you could possibly be in. So considering somebody's in jails in the worst possible situation, they need to be a little bit more flexible, but 10 times they tend to be a little bit more hard-handed. But to each his own.
Yeah. So what are some tips that you can share? Maybe 2 or 3 things that you can share just to Well, you know what I'm gonna say. What are 2 or 3 tips that you can share just to keep that communication going, or that connection going? I know you said like it's gonna be there from the start. It's not gonna go away if you still have love for that person. But I feel like some people still might be like, okay, but how? Like,
Okay.
what are ways?
First thing, communication costs money. So you can't have unlimited communication unless you're just independently wealthy. So if you are not independently wealthy, do not put the financial burden on yourself trying to keep making 34 calls a day. 40 calls a day is not real for you because it's going to drive your bill up. It's going to drive you to the poorhouse. So you have to say communication is first. Then I have to set a budget for my communication per month and communicate to him or her, whoever's inside, hey, we need to set a budget on communication. So when both parties are clear on the budget for communication, you got these. You can send an email for like 30 cents or 40 cents. You can send pictures. I forget the price for the pictures. This can send pictures, it can send emails, it can send voicemails, it can do a whole bunch of stuff. So you can say, okay, I can afford 20 emails a month. That's Monday through Friday. I can send an email every day. Monday through, not the weekends, but Monday through Friday, I can send one. And then I can afford to send pictures once a week. Then I can afford to do 4 calls. I can afford to do 2 video calls. Figure out your budget. Because if you don't figure out your budget and then you set a standard, he's going to want to maintain that standard. You're going to want to maintain that standard, but your pockets won't maintain that standard. And like any other couple, the number one thing they beef about is money. So now you're being stressed because you're putting all the money to this to communicate, but you can't afford it, and you don't really want to scale it back because you said yourself, we need to talk 4 times a day, and you really didn't.
Yeah.
So set a budget, then set a schedule, communicate that. Like, hey, let's get this so we can go to long haul, not just a hot 3 weeks. I know some people that ran up some phone bills that ain't funny. You know what I'm saying? So be clear on the budget for that.
Now, what about some tips for when someone is released?
When somebody is released, the first thing you have to do is understand that if he's been locked up for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, and he loves you, don't crowd him. Crowding people, trying to hide him from people. If he loves you, he's going to stay with you. And if he doesn't, he won't. That is the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's hard truth. If he loves you, he'll stay with you. If he doesn't, he won't. So you just have to come. You're going to find out, does he love me? Like I said, me and my friend, I've been home 23 and a half years. We talked 2 days ago, you know what I'm saying, for an hour. We call each other constantly. We'll be friends. We won't be married, but we'll be friends forever. You know what I'm saying, but we weren't dating towards the end of my sentence. She had moved on and was dating somebody else, and she had a life. She had a new kid, she had a new life, and I supported that. So I didn't turn into a hater. You know what I'm saying? I'm always going to be a supporter of hers because she supported me. But when a person first comes home, what you can try to do is help them transition. Don't try to cripple them and mummy them. Help them transition. Take them to a restaurant or a coffee shop outside of the city. Go for a walk with them. I'm saying listen to them because they're trying to process. Don't just give them all the information you think they should have. Ask them, say, hey, how are you feeling? What do you want to know? Just don't fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying? Let them ask the questions and then you fill in the blanks.
Okay. That's some great advice. And I think that these are the things that folks want to hear. And we have a couple of people in the actual chat that has said thank you. Brandon said he's watched every single one of your videos on the tablet when he was in prison. So I think that is amazing.
Where was he locked up at? BB, where was you at, man? And somebody on here said, yo, no, I am no longer married. That was 2006 that ended. So we're pushing up on almost 20 years that I've been single. Not single, but not married.
Someone on Instagram said you got him through his bid. So this is some great stuff.
I got you through. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Stand up and count time ain't nothing but a thing, man. Listen, count time ain't. I just went to lunch. One of the homies, shout out to Rice Street, to all my homies in Rice Street. If y'all down there, man, Trump's going through it today, so it's gonna be kind of hectic. But Rice Street, man, shout out. We was down there. One of the brothers came home a couple weeks ago. We just went to lunch. We sat down. We was building. He's like, Dre, you made me believe that I can do better. And I said, I'm here sitting across the table from you, and I'm going to show you how to do better. So it's not just something I said when I was in the jail. People who know me know I rock on it. If I really rock with you on the inside, I rock with you out here. Now I saw you in there. I might have gave you a sandwich. But if you was about you seen the people who walk with me every day, who work with me every day, I still work with them on the outside. If you was in the corner that's watching, that's I'm going to play you right now.
Yeah. So someone also said transition starts on the inside. Planning together helps strengthen the foundation. What's your thoughts on that? Does it start on the inside?
It starts day one. It doesn't start the day they come out. If you want to, on a relationship side, build a relationship with somebody, you can find a book. It doesn't have to be a relationship book, a business book, a music book, something that he and you both like. Send them the book, then y'all read it chapter to chapter together. So when you call, you're talking about the book and you're sharing information, not just how was your day? What did you do? Where did you go? How did the lady in the next cubicle ask you? How did the dude at the gas station treat you? A bunch of nothing conversation. I've participated in a bunch of nothing conversation. Well, how did the lady at the store act? And how did this? And we're just talking to be talking. We're not really building. So don't talk to talk, talk to build. I have people that I talk to, they'll just ramble on for 3 hours about something that I knew nothing about and don't care nothing about. Yeah. So it's like, damn, I got to sit through this. So find that common ground for communication and let that communication be edifying and building, not just filling space. If what you're saying has no merit or no meaning, is just words, then you're not building. You're just like, you know what I'm saying, throwing water in the ocean. Talking about that's mine.
Yeah.
So let it be meaningful.
When you were in prison, what were those meaningful conversations that you had that definitely like sticks to you to this day?
Say that again.
The meaningful conversations that you had in prison that stuck with you to the day, that just like you think about, hey, this was a good time. I had this, that, and the other with so and so.
Just walking the yard conversations.
No, just like a meaningful conversation that you had with somebody on the outside that helped you build the foundation to transition home.
Well, the transition home, when I was getting ready to come home, I didn't have a lot of people on the outside. So I was inside. I met volunteers. Shout out to Patrick Dempsey, my #1 volunteer, my biggest supporter all through my bid. I met him. And he was just a champion to me from day one. And he would just encourage me. He'd be like, Dre, you don't know how smart. He's like, I'm out here. You're a beast, and you don't even know it. But it's hard to see what you can't see. And so Patrick Dempsey would encourage me. We couldn't talk on the phone, but when he came in for volunteer stuff, he would always encourage me. Even there's a guy named Robert Henderson, who was a CEO at MCI Norfolk, that let me into a program. And he would say, Dre, I'd be like, yo, Rob, what's really out there? He'd be like, Dre, you're going to do fine. He said, it's hard for you to get it, but trust me, the world's not as difficult as you think it is. And it's not. The world's not as complicated, as difficult as we thought it was going to be. So simple is better. Simple works. Simple sells. Simple is maintainable. Simple scalable. Complicated is a hassle. Complicated is going to die soon. Complicated is going down the drain. Complicated means you're going to be on your own real fast. So keep it simple and just re-encourage a person that I'm going to be with you. You're going to see a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to be with you. Some of the stuff I can help you through. Some of the stuff I can't. Don't try to be everything for the person, because you can't be. If you set yourself up as I'm going to be everything, and the first time you can't be, now you're building blocks to block yourself out.
Yeah. Well, let's take a little bit of a twist, a little bit of change. We talked about relationships, romantic relationships. Let's go and talk about some technical terms. So for the folks that are out there that might be wives, might be girlfriends, or their wife or girlfriend is in prison, they might be husbands, they might be
Let's go.
boyfriends.
Hold on. The truth
Yeah.
of the matter is, and it's unfortunate, men don't visit women in prison on average. It doesn't happen.
Mm.
I mean, the sisters inside have one of the toughest walks ever.
Why?
Men on the street generally don't. If I was on the street and my girl went to jail, I'm not going to see her. You know why? I'm a criminal. Criminals generally don't go up to correctional facilities and sign in. So if you're dating a guy that's in the street and you go to jail, usually the girl has a job and the guy's in the street. That's the general. So when the guy goes to jail, the girl's legal so she can come see him. But if the girl's got a job and he's in the street and she goes to jail, he's still in the street, he ain't going up to no prison. That's the first thing. You know what I'm saying? The second thing is like we're not built for the visiting room. It's just not a psychological thing. We're gonna go through all these forms and stuff to go and get patted down and go visit somebody that I technically can't have sex with. I can just look at them and feel bad for them. We're not emotional creatures like that. So the fact of the matter is, majority of men, not all, but a majority of men, boyfriends, disconnect when the girlfriend goes to jail. Whereas women who have aspirations, hope, and a lot of love and nurturers, and they are legal and they can get in and they have schedules and they're not in the street all night, they will come see you.
That sucks.
That's facts. I mean, it's unfair, but the facts are most of our sisters do not get visits. You know what I'm saying? So we always want to highlight that to say, yo, how do we get them more engagement? If we can't get a guy to go see them, can we get their kids up there?
Yeah.
Get a ride from grandma or something. Usually it's mothers and grandmothers going to visit the daughters. It's not the husbands and boyfriends.
Okay. So how can we get more folks into the women prisons?
We have to acknowledge that they're there. So often all corrections and crime and criminal justice stuff is focused on men.
Yeah.
We generally don't talk about women when we talk about criminal justice or incarceration, even though they make up a huge percentage in the uptick of incarcerated people. They're not shooters, they're not gang members, they're not serial killers. They're just in there mostly because they've been taken advantage of or being abused, and they started lashing out, and they got drugged down the wrong path, and they got caught out there. That's a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them get a bad rap from day one. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many women inside who've been abused. 1 in 4 girls in high school get sexually molested. That number is 3 out of 4 for people incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? Domestic violence numbers are off the change. You know what I'm saying? It's just all bad numbers. You know what I'm saying? One of the primary hustles or forced hustles for women is prostitution. Having sex with people for money has to damage your soul, has to damage your psyche. You know what I'm saying? That's not an easy job. It's so much easier for me to stick a gun at somebody and say, give me your shit.
Yeah.
Than to have to perform sexual acts for money. And it hurts the soul. So, and then I go to jail. I don't have any nightmares about robbing people. You know what I'm saying? Whereas they probably have nightmares about the things they went through, you know what I'm saying, to get to where they are. If I'm a drug addict, nobody wants to have sex with me for crack. Nobody wants to have sex with me for heroin. But if you're a woman, that's the first thing coming out of somebody's mouth. You know what I'm saying? It's always some form of abuse. You know what I'm saying? That they have to encounter or go through to get through. And then we don't talk about the abuse. We don't talk about the trauma. And the worst part is we tell men, hey, Dre, you can come home, put on a suit and a tie, get a shave, and you're good.
Yeah.
We tell the lady, oh, you used to be in the street. You used to be the addict. You're bad.
Yeah.
And that's not true. We need to tell the sisters. I've been telling young girls since 1999 that you can be whole again. If I can get my life together, you can get your life together. If I can become respectable, you can become respectable. The double standard has to stop in regards to what we tell people.
Yeah.
We tell women the double standard stands post incarceration, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm. So, in your experience for women that have came out, is there resources that you know or people that you talk to that is dedicated to women post release?
There are programs that I've come across. There are less programs for women than there are for men. Again, men are the sexy ones. Men are the cool guys. Men are the media. The media focuses on men, and they have less issues. So a woman's going to have 2 or 3 kids, perhaps, and she's going to have a lot of emotional damage. She's going to have a lot of emotional baggage. She's going to have a lot of stuff trust issues that comes out in relationships. I walk out of prison tomorrow. I'm like, let's go play ball. What's up? Not 5-on-5. Let's go. I'm out there. Women don't move like that. They want to communicate. They want to share. They want to be heard and be felt. You throw a basketball out, man, you got guys' attention for the next 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So women need a different type of service, different type of attention, a different type of detail that men don't require.
Yeah.
So it makes them more labor intensive to work with. I'm saying it's not good or bad. It's just you have to put a little more effort into working with women more so than you do with a guy, because the guy has as many issues, but he handles them differently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a good chance if I come home and she comes home, she got the kids, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more mobile. You know what I'm saying she got 2-3 kids that she's got to lug around.
Mm-hmm.
I can just come out and go.
Yeah.
So it's harder. It's more scrutiny, and the double standards and the psychological damage that we do and we perpetrate is pointed at them.
Yeah. So I know we just talked about post-release programs, but are there less programs in the prisons for women than men?
I would say nationwide, most of the top end prison programs are in male prisons, because when you have a budget, this comes down to budgeting. You have a budget, you're probably going to have more men locked up than women in every state in the union. Every state, every facility, if you do a head count, how many men in California locked up? How many women? Rhode Island, men, women. Wisconsin, North and South Dakota, every state will have more men locked up than women.
Yeah.
With more men, you build more facilities, which give you more access to more programs. Less women means less facilities, which means, okay, I can have a level 5 max for men. All the violent guys go to the max. Then I can have a whole level for guys who are medium. I can have a level for guys who are not violent. Mm-hmm. Women, all 3 of those women to be in the same building.
Really?
Because they don't have 8 buildings for the women.
Yeah.
So because there are less facilities, that means they condense. So if you take state X, it has 40,000 prisoners, 35,000 men, 5,000 women. Those 5,000 women are probably between 2 facilities, where those men are between 20, 25. So you can have programs spread out that specialize in different things. Yeah. Whereas the women are just more confined and more condensed. So the max prisoners are in with the minimum and vice versa. So it's just harder on them when it comes to receiving services, because there's just less of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, for everyone out there that's listening and you have a program and you're trying to get at Dre, man, I feel like this is a need. This is a need. This is a space where people can.
When we did the tablets, first time we did the app for the tablets, I made an app specifically for women. And I had the stuff for the guys. I'm like, I had women's topics on our tablet or in our section, but it didn't say women. You know what I'm saying? Now, it doesn't mean it's not for women because it doesn't say women, but I wanted it. If you go on a tablet that says Hope Media, there's a tab that says women. Yeah. And that is content created specifically for them. Not stuff that they can just happen to watch because it's on there. Yeah. I want them to know that they're being thought of. And that's all they've asked for. Show us some courtesy, show us some kindness, show us some respect, and we'll return in kind. So for the sisters who are inside, there is an app specifically for you, a channel that I created because women matter. Mm-hmm. Without them, we're not here.
Yeah. And for the people who are on here, Instagram, TikTok, all of our channels, if you have a loved one inside, let them know. There's an app, Hope Media, on the Securus tablet that has a specific tab just for women, because they deserve it. They deserve just as much love as the men.
I'm going to send you the link to the app, and you can drop it in the box.
All right.
So they can see what's up there. But I tell the people on TikTok, y'all gotta go over to YouTube. Go on over to YouTube, sign in Andre Norman, and you'll get in the chat too.
Mm-hmm. Everybody, please continue to drop your questions, drop your comments. We are looking through them at this time. Someone says, facts. He says he agrees with what you were saying. His girl did a bid in Arizona for selling drugs at a strip club. What? And she deserves love too. As we go ahead and continue, I guess this is a great segue into our next point, on those technical terms that they might need to know or their loved ones at home might need to know, and that is clemency and pardons. Can you explain those two processes of how?
Clemency and pardons work like this. We're
Yeah,
going to do state first, and we'll do federal second. I don't know if you can get clemency or pardon from a county. You probably can. A state clemency requires the governor to set you free, not a court, not a parole board.
yeah,
The governor of the state has to say, I believe that you should be let out. Now, I don't believe that you didn't do it. That I believe that you did it. Did it, didn't do it, it's not an issue at clemency. I just believe you deserve to be released for whatever the reason. You're a changed person, you served enough time, whatever the scenario. So in a state facility, I'll get to Fed in a minute. It takes the governor of that state to sign a waiver or sign a clemency order to release you. And the way that happens is your lawyer, your family petitions the governor, and you ask them for clemency and or pardon. You know what I'm saying? And it's called different things in different states. And the governor usually goes through the parole board, even though it's not a parole issue. That's his vehicle to actually vet people. So it's not a parole hearing. The parole board will probably review your petition and give their commentary. You know what I'm saying? But they won't make the decision. The decision comes from the governor's office. It's the same thing if you're on death row. At some point, when that time comes, it goes to the governor. It's his decision. He can, on his own or on her own, decide, do not execute. I'm going to convert their sentence from death to life. He or she has that power at any stage that he or she wants. It doesn't have to be the day of. It can be a month before, the day after. I remember he can just say, boom, death to life. He can say anybody in state prison right now can be released, perhaps at the behest of the governor. But you need to have a compelling reason to be released. There's some compassionate releases because if people are sick and ready to die, and they're at the last end of their life, they want to go home. So they'll confirm that you're terminal and really terminal, and they're subject to release you on that. Yeah. People had COVID. They were released due to COVID because they were subject. They didn't have the medical conditioning to keep them completely safe. And they're like, okay, because we can't keep you safe and you got COVID, or you have like the asthma, all these underlying issues. We're going to kick you out of here because you're probably going to die if we keep you here. We don't want to be responsible for killing you. Again, governor has that right to make that call.
That's a lot of control in one person's hand.
That's why they call the governor of the state. So you make the petition to the governor. Yeah. It'll probably go through his parole board at some level, but the governor makes a decision on state clemency or pardons. And it's the same thing: death sentence, life sentence, 2 years, 5 years to the governor. You can check the stats on that. It's not really, really often, but it happens. In a federal situation, a governor cannot pardon you. A governor cannot release you because in a federal facility, you are under federal law. So you need to go through the federal system, which means the only person who can pardon you or give you clemency is the president of the United States of America. So if you want to check that, you can go back to Google.
Yeah.
And before Trump left office the last time, he releases his pardon list. He Kodak Black, Lil Wayne, he pardoned a bunch of people. They usually do that when they're on the way out the door. Because if you do that while you're in office, then it could come back to bite you because your adversary is going to say, oh, he let this dangerous criminal out and all the rest of it. So governors and presidents tend to do this as lame ducks, meaning they either lost the election, they're not rerunning, or their time's up and they're terming out. So I can pardon you, walk away, and you really can't do or say anything to me that's going to matter. If I pardon somebody, then I run for office again. My opponents can throw that back in my face. Oh, you let this dangerous person out. You shouldn't let him out. And it's always two sides of the coin. So look at election cycles, governors and presidents. Look, you can go back and Google it from every state and every president for the last 20 years. When that person is leaving office, it's a known factor leaving office, is generally when the pardon comes out. Mm-hmm. There are always the exceptions to the rule. But generally, presidents pardon people on the way out the door, governors pardon people on the way out the door because they don't want to deal with the political backlash. Because everybody's gonna have you let one person out, 10 people agree, 10 people don't. You let somebody else out, 10 people agree, 10 people don't. There's always going to be somebody who opposes you letting somebody out. And the last thing you want is that person joining with the person who's running against you and screaming at the top of their lungs that you don't care. They call it the Willie Horton effect. There was a presidential race, I think it was 84. It was George Herbert Bush against Michael Dukakis. And Dukakis was winning by a landslide. He was ahead in every poll. He had a program in the state prison as governor where he let lifers go home on furloughs. Guys in a minimum security camp, he escapes the camp, he goes to another state, he rapes and he kills somebody. George Herbert Bush, took that scenario, took that news media, and he plastered it and he called him soft on crime. And all you saw is every single day was the Willie Horton case on TV. This black guy that escaped prison in Massachusetts, and he murdered some white folks in Maryland, and it was the governor's fault that it happened. He did not make presidency. If you look at any media outlet, they will tell you that was the issue that sank his campaign.
Yeah.
He was like ahead by a large margin and was cruising, and then that scenario happened, sank his campaign.
Yeah.
So all presidents, governors, try to stay away from stuff that can sink them. As much as they might want you to go home, they want to be in office just a little bit more.
Yeah. So for folks that are in now that are seeking those things, they need to be, you're saying, physically ill, or that governor or president needs to be like way out the door?
First off, terminal illness is subject to get you a clemency. It's not a guarantee, subject to. I'm saying there's a good chance if you are terminally ill and it's a proven fact that you're subject to get a clemency or a pardon. I'm saying I think pardon is you didn't do it. Clemency is that it's letting you go home. So don't hang me on which term is which. Yeah. I think clemency is they're like, okay, we're just gonna let you out.
Yeah.
Whereas a pardon is like, hey, we're wiping your record clean.
Mm-hmm. So
I think it's more of clemency in most instances, but the governor could do either. So if you are terminally ill in prison and it's verifiable by a round of their doctors, not yours, there's a chance they'll let you out on your last leg to go die at home. And aside from that, generally you have to watch the election cycles. And governor of state Y, he runs for governor for a second term and he loses. Yeah. He's going out in January, so he's probably lost the election in November. So he's out in January. He got 2 months.
Yep.
And that's when he makes his clemency and pardon list. When Trump lost the last time, before he made his clemency and pardon list. So once I think it was I forget, November was the election. So he had November, December, and half of January to do his pardon list.
Yeah.
And that's the
best time to submit it.
You don't submit it then. You submit it before the election.
Okay.
But if your guy wins, there's no you ain't getting out.
Oh. Well, that sucks.
If I'm the governor,
and
your pardon to me or your clemency request, and I win the election, I'm probably not going to give it to you at the end of this term because I'm coming back for 4 more.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the next 4, a lot of places have term limits. So, but if you got it in and I lose, I'm subject to sign it. I'll consider it more than if I win.
Okay. Well, guess what? First of all, that's great. I learn so much every time we have these lives, but we also have a question. We actually have 2 questions in the chat. The first one is leaning more towards relationships, and the other one is more so about this. So I'm going to go back to that. So it says 2 of my homeboys just EOS. I don't know what that is. Maybe we have to explain. You might have to explain for us. Last weekend, one did 15 years and the other did 10 years. How can this person convince them to initially only focus on one woman relationship so they can focus on the plan?
Well, are you the one woman? It's the first question. That's the first question. People are going to do what they're going to do. not what they said they're going to do. They're going to do what they're going to do. I'm saying, I've said countless times, I'm going to lose weight, and I have a coffee and a donut tomorrow morning.
Mhm.
I got the evidence in my trash can if you look into it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that is. So the thing is, people say stuff, then when it's actually time to do it, it's something different. So if this person wants to have 3 or 4 girlfriends, is that detrimental to their long-term success? Probably not. Simply having 2 or 3 girlfriends you're dating isn't the best kept secret. It's not the strongest thing to do to help you get focused and stable, perhaps, but stereotypically. But it's not the end of the world. It's not illegal. It's not, I'm saying, none of that. So it's just time consuming. He will find out it's going to take a lot of time to date 3 women.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time away from him, whatever his plan is. So if your friend is home and they run around chasing girls, or they're chasing the whoever's running by him, and you're trying to say, how do I get him to focus? Say, hey, let's go to lunch. You take him to lunch and say, yo, John, what's up? Man, you've been out for 2 weeks, man. Remember we talked about you starting that van service? Remember we talked about you going to college? Dude, registration for college for January is in November. Let's go do a college tour. There's Georgia State down the street. There's it's a great community college. Kennesaw Community College is phenomenal. Kennesaw State. Let's go take them to a college campus. I might have wanted to go, but I've technically never been to a college campus, so it's not in my system. You might have to pick me up and take me to a college campus. Take me to lunch and remind me of the things that I said. Damn, I did say that. Because when you walk out the door and the lights, camera, action hit, sometimes you get jolted. But the 3 women is not the ideal scenario in some instances, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah. Unless you're the one woman that he was supposed to be with, then it's the end of the world for you.
He's not okay. So he said he is not a woman. He just wants to make sure that his friends are on the right track and sticking to their plan.
Well, then measure them on the plan, not their free time. So 3 women doesn't derail the plan. So let's go back and say, what was the plan? Now, if the plan was celibacy, yeah, you off track. If the plan was starting a business, if the plan was doing X, Y, or Z, then this isn't necessarily off plan. It's just not the part of the plan that you encountered or y'all talked about.
Yeah. So the other question is going back to clemency and pardons, or this question is basically on post-release. This person asks, could you speak about getting your rights back after you did your bid?
Well, in different states, you have different rights that are taken from you. In Massachusetts, the day I step out of prison, I'm allowed to vote. In Massachusetts, the day I step out of prison, I can run for office. In Massachusetts, the day I step out of prison and I'm off supervision, I can go apply for a passport, or it doesn't matter what state you're in. That's a federal thing. So whatever state you're in, when you get out of prison and you clear probation or parole, you can apply for a passport and travel. So I got my rights back to travel internationally when I cleared supervision, and I didn't have a lot of child support. But as far as criminal justice, when I cleared supervision, parole, and probation, I'm going to put in for my passport, and I got it first shot. There was no, they said, are you under supervision? No. If you say yes, they'll call on probation or parole. If you say no, they'll run your record. They'll see you have a record, but they'll still give you your passport. So your passport and the ability to travel will come back the day you finish supervision. You can apply. And it takes 3 to 4 weeks for it to show up. Driver's license. Day you step out of prison, you might have to go get a permit. Then after you get your permit, you can get your license. You can do that in really a week. Yeah. Mining, I mean, as long as you don't owe the DMV $1,000, $15,000, you can just walk in, get your permit, get your license in 7 days if you have the money and the time. There's no restrictions on you driving unless supervision has put that on you. And I don't even believe parole can tell you can't drive unless you have drunk driving stuff on your record. The ability to carry a firearm. Some states, you can apply to get your gun rights back. It has happened for multitudes of people. They can apply to get the gun rights back. The Second Amendment is real, y'all. So if you want to carry a firearm again or carry one legally, they can go, and there's petitions that you can put in to get your record sealed or taken away so they can restore your gun rights. It depends on the cases that you have. Like I have a case of giving a false name. It can never be removed. They can remove a robbery, they can remove a murder, they can remove a B&E. They will not erase giving a false name. I don't know. But and then if you're in a state situation, the governor can seal your record and give you permission. If you have a federal crime, now you need the president to seal your record and give you permission. Again, anything within a state or county goes to the governor. Anything that's federal goes to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So all my rights have been restored. I don't have gun rights yet. Now, the thing you're going to run into is called background checks. I, to this day, will not be rented houses in certain communities because I have a background. My criminal record is real. People pull it like, no, I'm not renting to him. So I can buy, but some people just won't rent to me because they'll look and see the robberies and the rest. And they're like, I don't think so. I don't care that you work at the White House. I don't care. So I set up a business entity. And oftentimes I have my business rent the house or my business rent the thing and versus Andre Norman renting it because the business entity has an EIN and not a social attached to a criminal record.
That's great advice. That is great advice. Person on Instagram.
IG's in the building.
IG's in the building. This is where all the questions coming from. What are the questions on TikTok? Anybody dropping
it? TikTok people need to go on over to IG. I told them that already.
Over to IG.
YouTube. If you're on TikTok, go to YouTube and just put it in. Yo, Kevin Samuels just joined. Yo, Kev, go to YouTube and put in Andre Norman. See me over there.
Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about mentorship. This is another question in the chat. We talked about mentorship yesterday. And we went into detail. Did we talk about what the conversation is like when someone wants to become your mentor? I mean, when someone wants to be your mentee?
For me, if you want to be my mentee, what you're saying to me is, Andre, I mean, it's like almost be an uncle. That's how I look. I look at mentoring like being somebody's uncle. I'm like they're part of my family now. You know what I'm saying? You can go from uncle to, nephew to son or like godson, whatever, but it's like you're part of my family now.
Yeah.
So when people say, Dre, mentor me, I'm not getting paid, which is cool at one level, but I have to now want to do it. Do you have that type of potential that I see that I have to help bring to the world? You know what I'm saying? I need to take your potential and your gifts and lift it up so the world can see, because that's what being a mentor is. It's all about you and it's not about me. So do I want to like put my head down, let you stand on my shoulders and be seen by the world? Mm-hmm. And that's what you're asking somebody when you say mentor me. So to be a mentee for Andre, you'd have to be somebody extraordinary, somebody that has the ability to create huge impact in the world, because you have to line up with me. So you might be the next greatest basketball player. You don't need me. You might be the next greatest scientist. It's not what I do. I do violence. I do mediation. I do suicide prevention and homicide prevention. That's the space that I'm in. So I don't have to, all my mentees kind of fit in kind of the box that I'm in, because it makes life simple. If somebody came to me who was a classic piano player, I can mentor them, but it's just going to be a lot of extra work. So mentees for me, they just have to be able to create impact in the world. I just picked up a new one last Thursday. I went to New York.
Okay. So did another question or second question from that, did they ask you, or do you ask, or do they tell you? How do you do that process?
Well, it can go either way. What happens is generally you meet the person, you connect with the person, and it's you just kind of connect, and you're already helping them. Most of the mentees I have right now, if not all of them, are people I was already helping. And it started off me just helping them, and I was enthused and excited about what they were doing and how I could help them. Then it just kept going and just kept going. So it wasn't like I just got an email say, hey, Dre, you want to be my mentor? I'm like, sure. It's generally somebody that I encountered and I saw what they were doing. Not heard. I saw what they were doing. I walked alongside of them and I said, yo, I want to make this car go faster.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that answered that question out there. I think that mentorship is super important. I have a few mentors myself, and I, like you said, we just developed a relationship over time. And I was just like, wow, they made such a big impact over me on me. I want to continue to work hard and get information advice for them. So I hope that that was helpful. So it's almost clearing our time. It's close to
Hold on.
time, but
Somebody on here said they read my book. They're waiting on a response. Bro, you got to come to YouTube. Get off TikTok. Go to YouTube right now. Hit Andre Norman, and you'll see me that I can check the questions. And Neva's going to get you. We're going to get back to you right now. But if you want to hang out on TikTok, then I love you. Sorry,
it's
Neva.
not quote. Somebody said quote of the day. It's not quote of the day time. We have one more question, and hopefully that person comes in and we can go ahead and ask that one. But let's just talk about a feeling, and let's talk about being afraid. So, have you ever been afraid to ask for help?
Yes, that's why I went to prison.
Mm.
That's 100% why I went to prison. I was convinced that I was a gangster. I was convinced that I was tough. I was convinced that boys don't cry. I was convinced, man, that soldiers stand up. I was convinced, man, that 100 years don't mean nothing. You can do that on your head, no big deal. I was convinced of all the dumbest stuff in the world. Then when I realized that I allowed myself to be convinced, and I agreed to sending myself into a pit and staying there willingly. I wasn't being forced into prison. I
Yeah.
was willingly staying in prison because what do you say, Dre? I wasn't trying to get out. If you're in there and you're not trying to get out, then you're in agreement. If you're just walking around, going to the store, going to the yard, go to a game, go to the program, you're just there, just passing time, then you're complying with your confinement. Now, if you pled guilty to a lesser deal and you're walking around doing nothing, you're complying with your confinement too because you're not making your time work for you. You're letting it work over you. So the easiest thing, fear is real. You just got to tell yourself, man, I don't have to be fair, a success. My biggest fear was I might actually make it. And then what?
That reminds me
I know
of,
what failure looks like. I
yeah,
know exactly what failure looks like, feels like. Everybody has no expectation of me.
yeah,
I'm at a point now that if I fail, I'm going to have thousands of people laugh at me.
yeah,
That hurts. That's expectation that they have. Andre has to be successful. And the other thing is, for all my brothers and sisters who are locked up, who know me or don't know me, I'm the poster child for this thing. I'm saying I've been doing this for 23 years, going on 24. And I'm the poster child. Back in 1999, when they said, should we give violent felons a chance to be in charge? I was the first one at that table. We said, let's see how he plays it. And I sat at the table and I represented us. Shout out to MT. And I held it down. Didn't sell us out, stood up straight, spoke across the table, spoke facts, spoke reason. I was reasonable. And I made it work.
yeah.
And they said after 3 years, we can't beat this dude. We better go get some more. They started copying my program and shipping around the country. At some point, I'm waiting. My homie's going to the pro board in a couple months. And I want to be able to walk in and be like, what life I've lived for the last 23 and a half years is bringing peace to the world. And I need this man to help me continue this mission. And you can check my record. I was one of the worst prisoners in jail, but I made a promise to the parole board, just like you 23 years ago, that I would bring peace to the world. And I've done what I promised. I live my life every single day that if I get called to my friend's parole board, that I can advocate for his release with strength, not just, yo, man, let him out.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. No, I can go in there and say, listen, I've worked for the White House. I work for Congress. I work for the UN. I work for different countries. I work for communities of color, communities, I'm saying, not of color, from different regions, different spaces and places, suicide, opioids, heroin, crack. I don't care. I've been doing this all over the planet Earth based on the promise that I gave to the pro champion, that I would not turn back and I would not shrink back and I would stand up and defeat any kind of enemy that's going against peace. And I've done that. So when I go to the board, I got a 23 and a half year track record to put on the table to advocate for. I live my life not for me. I live my life for all my brothers and sisters inside, because you can always point, yo, we got one. He's right there.
Yeah. That reminds me of the first quote of the day. And it is not our darkness that frightens us, it is that light. It's a poem that you love. I heard it so many times, but it reminds me of that. You saying that Definitely.
People don't be selfish, be selfless. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff I want to do, but I can't because if I get caught up, poster child's down in flames. You go for parole oh man, listen, how do I know you're really gonna go help kids? The last guy, Andre, the poster child, he was front. He robbed the bank last week. He was fronting on us the whole time. He's been probably robbing banks the whole time. We just couldn't catch him. I can't rob a bank. I can't get caught with a pistol. I can't get caught with a sack. Can't get caught doing some madness because when I go down, the poster's coming off the wall. So I live not for me, but for everybody. I don't care if you're Aryan. I don't care if you're Mexican. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're from Trinidad. I don't care if you're European. I don't care who you is.
Yeah.
If you behind these walls, you can always point to say, yo, we got one of us that came home and is doing exceptionally well. And he's on record for being the best of the best. And I want to be like him. Yeah. And they know me. Versus like, I got an when I went about, I just got a dream. I got a dream. Yeah. I got something I think I want to do.
But they can say, yeah,
I want to do what Dre's doing. Mm-hmm. There's actually a person that you can point to now. There was no person for me to point to. Mm-hmm. I had to convince those people that I was the person, and I still am. And so I'm getting old. So I now need y'all to take this over.
Man, that's some powerful stuff. Just like the impact that you have done, the impact on this live is people still asking questions.
Let's get them. What the question?
The question, one of the questions, it says, Yogi, he says, what up, OG? Any tips on going to county jail for the first time?
If you're going to county jail, this is the thing about county jail. County jail is fast-paced, a lot of crybabies, you know what I'm saying, because people go in and out every single day. There's people looking for their property. There's people looking for their girlfriend. There's people looking for the dude who beat up their brother last week. County jail is so fast. It turns over like every 90 days. You got a whole new set of people. State prison, we here for like 5-6 years together. You get to know people. County jail, they flip so fast. So when you get in there, they don't have time to really like do a lot with you. You have to go kind of press them because time's moving so fast. Try to get into a program unit. Try to get a job real quick because so many people are racing to the phone or racing to the rec deck. Try to get in there and get a job. Try to get in there and get into school. Try to get in there and get into something positive day one. And you're going to do the time regardless. Do the time doing something positive. Reach out to your people and say, listen, I need some books. Find out what the policy is on getting books sent to you. You know what I'm saying? To get some books sent to you and start reading. You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing I wish I could have done over is read from the day I got there. So county jail is in and out. Most county jails are a year or less. Massachusetts goes up to 2.5, which was one of the few states to go that far out. Yeah. So you're going in short, as they say. So don't go in and try to make a name for yourself. Don't go in and try to be cool and be down with the homies. Go in there to get out. Say, listen, I'm getting out of here. Yeah. So go in with the get out mentality. If they give jail credit or not, get a job, go to school, go to every program that ain't nailed down. Yeah. Don't spend all your time running your people's bill up on the phone. Go in there, man, and refocus. You're being given a chance to refocus and repurpose your life. You can spend this next 10, 11 months, whatever it is, crying and complaining, and, oh, man, how come? Or you say, no, so I got 10 months to study. Yeah. If I study every day for 10 months, how far down will I be on an associate's degree? How far will I be down on a bachelor's degree? How far will I be on a certificate? How far will I be on finishing my book? So sack your own books up right now. You can call the jail and find out what the book policy is yourself. You ain't gonna wait till you get there. Then go buy the books now and have them ready. Like, Mom, here's the books.
That is perfect. And he is in here. I think he probably is texting now, but I think that is great tips for someone to going in for the first time. We're getting close, but I wanted to get one last question. How can people that you encounter help you with your vision?
If or you want to help me, your vision. Say that again?
Or continue your vision.
Oh, my vision is simple. We help people. I wake up every single morning and say, who can I help today? And I can legitimately say there was somebody, a minimum of one person, I can count more than that I helped today. And if I can do that every single day, then I've done my job. I like to help as many people as possible. Sometimes it's only one, sometimes it's a bunch. So I don't qualify by how many, I just qualify my intent and my actions to get it done. So wake up, ask yourself, who can I help today? Who can I do a kind gesture for? I'm that guy that'll be in Waffle House and I'll pay for somebody's meal and walk out. I don't hear I paid your meal. I'll be like, yo, give me that ticket, pay it, and I walk out. Or I'll pay it. I go put the ticket on the table just to make sure they don't get charged twice, and I walk out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do that routinely because I got a couple of dollars. I can't take it with me, and I'll see somebody, and it's all nationalities, all races, all genders, and I just be like, yo, to be able to buy somebody a meal or buy somebody's groceries is, to me, a blessing.
That's
because
real.
I was a free lunch kid. I was a kid with an empty refrigerator. I was a kid with a lot of issues. So I know that pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me feel good that I can help somebody relieve their pain that I used to have.
Mm-hmm. Now it is 8 o'clock. So you know what that means. It is quote of the day. I don't know
Quote of the day.
But the quote of the day.
All you would-be motivational speakers. Mm-hmm. Quote of the day. I don't care what time you go on stage, end on time. When you're in something, end on time. There'll always be that one more thing to say, end on time. And if you don't like that quote of the day, this is my personal, and I've said it to many people I know. Answer the question asked. Anything beyond that is manipulation. If I ask you a question and you give me 10 answers to my one question and none of them have to ask, it's called manipulation. Answer the question asked. Do not manipulate.
And I want y'all to know we're about to end on time, but he says that very often. Very often. So that's real advice.
I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock, man.
If you All right, you know what? You know what it is tomorrow.
My book's on Amazon.
Peace, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, until tomorrow, 7 o'clock, act like you know.